I owe 𝙏𝙖𝙡𝙠 an apology. 𝙏𝙖𝙡𝙠, I apologize. I was not familiar with your game. In my last video on 𝙏𝙖𝙡𝙠, I expressed my slight doubt in this show's ability to maintain the quality of episode 1 throughout the whole season, and I'm not gonna lie, I mainly felt this way because I was kinda pissed that the cliffhanger in episode 1 didn't really come to pay off in episode 2. In fact, the beginning of episode 2 was kinda written in such a way that made it seem like they were dropping the cliffhanger entirely, right? Like they made it look like it was all a dream, and yeah, I assumed it was some kind of thinly veiled attempt at trying to get viewers to come back for episode 2. In other words, they got my ass. Looking back, I don't see why I failed to consider the possibility that perhaps the cliffhanger was set up for something more than one episode down the line. Like honestly, I think I've just grown accustomed to the super fast setup payoff cycle of modern anime, but regardless of the mistakes that I've made in the past, today we're here to talk about that very word that I just used. Payoff. Episode 4 was like the grand finale of the Nice arc. It was the big payoff that we've been waiting for, that we've been building up to ever since Lin Ling took up the mantle of Nice, and even though coming into this episode I was skeptical about if the show could pull it off in a mere 4 episodes, ladies and gentlemen, from this point moving forward, at least until further notice, I will never again doubt the cookage that is 𝙏𝙖𝙡𝙠. Anywho, we pick up in episode 4 where we left off in episode 3. Now, granted, I didn't drop a video on episode 3 last week like I had intended to. A nigga was over here trying to keep his grades from giving out like firm man's knees, but at the end of episode 3, the hating ass nigga from episode 1, aka enlighter, aka 𝙏𝙖𝙡𝙠, yeah, he decided to hate on Nice even harder than he had before. In an effort to expose Lin Ling as the fraud that he is, enlighter, because I'm not calling that nigga 𝙏𝙖𝙡, alright? He definitely didn't earn that name, but enlighter had basically kidnapped Moon, and now, in order to goad Lin Ling into confronting him where the world could see him, enlighter is broadcasting his felony for all the world to see. It's like, ever since he got that new superpower upgrade from that damn octopus back at the end of episode 1, this nigga enlighter doesn't know how to act, bro. He's over here in broad daylight committing federal crimes that will most likely get him 25 years in the pen at minimum. We cut back to Nice's penthouse where Lin Ling and company are watching this broadcast, and upon seeing that Moon is in trouble, Lin Ling immediately hops into action, bro. He starts running towards the elevator to go save Moon. As Lin Ling is attempting to run off, we get a look at Miss J, fine ass, who is on the phone with some spiffy looking businessman. We don't really know who this businessman is yet. We don't know what his deal is. We don't know why he's got a live daisy dripped out on his custom crimson suit. Like, that is just so fucking opulent. But based on the fact that this man seems to be the first person that Miss J addresses with any sort of respect, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that this man is probably Miss J's boss in one way or another. Anyway, let's zoom out for a second, right? Because as things stand right now, we have multiple different parties that are involved with this whole enlighter situation, and each party wants a different outcome in regards to how they want Nice to handle the situation. Lin Ling himself, Nice himself, his main priority is saving Moon, point blank period. Beyond being the woman that he loves, Moon is also a close friend of his that he's bonded with after being trapped in this very penthouse with her, and so as far as Lin Ling is concerned, saving Moon comes first and foremost. Miss J in the crimson suit, on the other hand, their priority is maintaining the brand's image. You see, the company that manages Nice and Moon is already low-key fucked since enlighter is out here goddamn hacking PBS Kids broadcasts and exposing them for having faked Moon's death. Like, that's already enough of a scandal in and of itself, and so they don't want to risk getting into any more hot water by having Nice show up on the scene, which could, you know, kinda sorta be viewed as an indirect admission of guilt in a way. Now, if these were the only two parties at stake in this situation, I reckon things would have worked out in Nice's favor, right? I mean, after all, there's only so much you can do to stop a superhuman that set his mind toward completing a task, especially when you're like Miss J and not a superhuman yourself. Probably. But it turns out the most important party in determining Nice's course of action in this situation isn't Miss J, it isn't Nice himself, it isn't even enlighter. It's Nice's fans. Episode 3 explored just how much power a hero's fans hold when it comes to determining what a hero can and can't do. And to make a long story short, if your fans don't want you to do something, you simply can't do it. We saw this in the case of Firm Man, who was physically unable to stop standing thanks to his fans who wanted to view him as someone who always stood tall. And we see this again now in the case of Nice, whose fans don't want him to engage with enlighter shenanigans at all. Even though Nice wants nothing more than to save Moon right now, his fans' collective disdain for the situation causes his body to literally give out when he set his intention to do so. And so, because Nice is unable to handle the situation on his own, the Crimson Suit ends up deploying another hero to go handle the situation. This cleanup specialist hero named Blankster that's got like this whole boxing motif going on. Back at the crib, Lin Ling is having to face the fact that as long as he's Nice, he's helpless when it comes to saving Moon from her current situation. At first he's reluctant, right? Like he's thinking there's gotta be something he can do to help somehow. He's a hero after all, but Miss J basically like grabs this nigga up and she's like, look bro, this is the life you chose to live. If your fans don't want you to do shit, you're not going to do shit. You're gonna sit your ass down on this sofa and watch this TV broadcast where a psychopath is attempting to murder your closest friend over the fucking Amazing World of Gumball time slot. We cut back to the building where Enlighter is currently fighting with Blankster. Now Blankster, as far as powers is concerned, well, like I said earlier, he's got the boxing motif going on, right? Basically, he was a boxer that was famous for having a quote-unquote iron fist. Nigga think he Mike Tyson, and I guess he had accrued so many fans as a boxer that he was able to graduate from athlete to hero. As a hero, Blankster fights with literal iron fists, go figure, but somehow he also has the ability to literally knock a nigga's memories out of his dome, which, like, I'm not gonna lie, that shit sounds absolutely terrifying, bro. Like, imagine you're a villain and you get jawed by this nigga. Now all of a sudden you're trying to remember why you even chose a life of crime in the first place. Like, this nigga done fucked around and knocked your villain origin story clean out of your brain meat, and now you just out here mad as hell, bro, committing crimes for no verifiable reason. Anywho, Blankster is out there getting to work on Enlighter, right? He's punching his little robots, trying to land an attack on Enlighter, who's surprisingly adept at bobbing and weaving, especially considering the fact that he's fighting a pro boxer. But come to find out, as Enlighter is over here dodging Blankster's attacks, he's actually stalling for time so that his new power can take effect. Enlighter's new God Eye ability allows him to expose the weaknesses and vulnerabilities of things in both the physical and metaphysical sense. What I mean by that is, not only can Enlighter find the weaknesses in Blankster's fighting style, he can also find the vulnerabilities in Blankster himself. He can find the holes in Blankster's persona. And as we know by now, in the 2B Hero X world, a hero's persona is basically their everything. Enlighter ends up uncovering the truth about Blankster, a truth that goes all the way back to Blankster's days as an amateur boxer. Come to find out, Blankster only ever saw success as a boxer because, get this nigga Blankster stuffed his gloves with goddamn steel plates. Now, those of y'all who are familiar with boxing will know that loading your gloves before a match is not only highly illegal in boxing, it's also very illegal in like the actual real world legal system. Like, if you get caught stuffing your gloves, you can genuinely catch an assault charge, because now it's not even a combat sport anymore. You're genuinely exposing your opponent to legitimate danger. There's a pretty famous case IRL where a boxer got caught cheating by loading his gloves with plaster, and I'm pretty sure, like if I'm remembering this correctly, the dude he fought was never able to step into the ring again because of the injuries he sustained during the fight. With that in mind, nigga, do you know how fucking demonic it is to stuff your gloves with steel plates? Like, no wonder this nigga Blankster can punch niggas' memories clean out their dome, bruh. He was out here in his prime hitting niggas with straight steel, bruh, straight iron, dealing out instantaneous CTEs during every match. Anywho, after Enlighter exposes the truth of Blankster's boxing career to the public, Blankster's trust value immediately starts to plummet, as it should, and this gives Enlighter the opportunity to KO Blankster in front of everyone, which honestly probably tanked his shit even further. Now remember, Blankster's a part of the same management company that Nice is signed to. I think it's called like the Treeman Group or something. And so Miss J, who is presumably also a part of the Treeman Group, orders her men to intercept the signal that Enlighter is broadcasting on and play just anything else, right? Whatever bullshit they can find in their hard drive. Out of pure coincidence and desperation, the men end up playing the commercial that Lin Ling had submitted to the Treeman Group at the very beginning of the show. Like the Nice commercial that had gotten him fired from his old job. The commercial that kinda catalyzed the events of the story so far. And after seeing his old trash ass commercial where he's talking about how anyone has the potential to become a hero, Lin Ling kind of looks inwards and remembers why he wanted to be a hero in the first place. He didn't want to be a hero just for the appearance or the glory. He didn't want to be a hero just so that he could be nice. Lin Ling wanted to be a hero so that he could get him a piece of that moon. Lin Ling wanted to become a hero so that he could save people, so that he could inspire people. And in order to accomplish that goal of saving someone right now, Lin Ling has to put aside the mantle of nice and simply be Lin Ling. Honestly, I have no idea how Lin Ling is able to just de-nicify himself, right? Like, I assume it has something to do with the fact that he's not the original nice, but based on the laws of the universe so far, if people think he's nice, then he's nice. Like, that shouldn't be something that he could just consciously reverse. Otherwise, couldn't a nigga like, I don't know, Firm Man just mentally stop being Firm Man and sit his ass down? Power system technicalities aside though, I do really appreciate this moment as a story beat, and that's what really matters, because I don't think this arc would have felt right if it ended off with Lin Ling carrying on the mantle of nice without at least addressing his true identity first. Like, personally, I needed him to either lose the mantle or address the fact that he is Lin Ling, and this moment right here managed to do both at once. So yeah, kudos to the writers. Color me satisfied. I also like the design choice of having him keep the single white strand of hair amongst his brown hair, because not only does it look tough as hell from like a visual standpoint with the contrast, it also kind of stands as like a visual symbol of that small but impactful period of his life when he was nice. Anyway, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit here, skip my way over to the actual confrontation between Lin Ling and Enlighter. But as Lin Ling is approaching Enlighter finally gets to indulge in the vindication that comes with Lin Ling exposing who he truly is. Now, the immediate consequence that comes as a result of Lin Ling exposing himself, is exactly what Enlighter was looking for. As Lin Ling exposes the truth about Nice's death and, you know, all that jazz, he's quickly losing power, since the millions of fans that had trusted in Nice don't trust in Lin Ling. They don't even know Lin Ling. As Lin Ling's trust value starts, I don't know, doing the Dougie on his wrist, lowering down to a mere single digit. Like, goddamn, this nigga don't even trust himself, huh? But as Lin Ling's trust value is hitting a drop, everyone around him starts panicking, right? Nice's fans are in disarray. Miss J up there in the whip, pissed as hell. She's about to lose her job. The only nigga who's not freaking out right now is Enlighter, who's enjoying every second of Nice's downfall with his hating ass. But you see, the thing about Enlighter is that for a villain whose whole power is supposed to be seeing the bigger picture, Enlighter is very fucking short-sighted in his methods. I think an underrated skill that Lin Ling has is his presence. I don't know if it comes from his background in marketing, you know, having to sell people and his ideas. I don't know if it comes from his time as Nice, where he, you know, had to essentially maintain that sort of perfection in the eyes of his fans. Honestly, it probably comes from a bit of both, but even though the show tries to characterize Lin Ling as like this awkward, timid sort of guy, when it really comes time to lock in and be out in front of the public, hey man, my boy Lin Ling is actually a very charming dude. You see, one of the most powerful things you can have in the 2B Hero X universe as a platform is the opportunity to be in front of a lot of eyes, because all of those people who are watching you are essentially potential fans. What Enlighter has done in his effort to publicly get back at Nice is essentially set up the perfect hero debut for Lin Ling. First off, between kidnapping a young woman and literally crucifying Lin Ling, an unarmed random citizen with robot powers, Enlighter is already positioning himself as the villain in this exchange, which naturally kind of slots Lin Ling into that underdog hero role that just naturally makes people want to root for him. Second off, like I said earlier, Lin Ling kind of just naturally has an inspiring presence. Like, he says the right things, he genuinely in his heart of hearts is a pretty brave, heroic guy. I don't think Lin Ling is necessarily right in his belief that anyone can be a hero, but I do think that Lin Ling himself 100% has the chops needed to be a hero. He's like some undiscovered talent type shit. And so yeah, Enlighter dumbass basically gave Lin Ling exactly what he needed, the perfect opportunity to prove to the world that he could be their next big hero. Despite having just gotten his ass beat by Enlighter, Lin Ling gets straight to squabbling, bro. No fans, no superpowers, just straight haymakers and aggression, bro. He's out here moving like Prime Blankster amped up with the steel steel plates in his gloves. The momentum of the fight actually swaps back and forth a few times. At one point, enlighter starts really beating the shit out of Lin Ling with one of his little robots. Like, the aggression they animated behind these blows was absolutely monstrous, bruh. I felt like that nigga was hitting me with them shits, but by the time the fight is finally starting to turn in enlighter's favor, it's already too late for the so-called God Eye. You see, at this point, the whole world has been watching as Lin Ling valiantly risks his life to save Moon despite having no powers to his name, and sure enough, that trust value starts to skyrocket as he inspires more and more onlookers with his bravery. And in a matter of mere moments, Lin Ling has garnered just as many, if not more, fans than what he had during his time as Nice. Now empowered by the trust vested in him, Lin Ling has become a full-fledged hero. In fact, beyond just being a hero, Lin Ling has become the people's hero, which is arguably even more OP because, yeah, you know, the sort of perfect character that he had as Nice was, I guess, inspiring, but people love to root for that kind of everyman type character that they can personally relate to and see themselves in. As his strength level starts to scale to his boost in popularity, them little weak ass swings that he was throwing earlier start to become full on super boosted Detroit smashes that can scrape through concrete like a fucking hot knife through butter. It gets to a point where Lin Ling, an otherwise ordinary dude, is now so OP that he doesn't even have to land his final attack to win the fight. He just does that little anime, you know, stop right before I punch you type attack, and that shit is so cracked that it just instantaneously dissolves enlighter's will to fight on. So yeah, over the course of his arc, Lin Ling has gone from ordinary scrub to top 10 hero, back to ordinary scrub, and then back to top 10 hero again, which I think is a pretty cool progression. But I'm not gonna lie, whoever wrote this shit did an absolute masterclass job of luring me into a false sense of security. Like, personally, I'm not usually the one for unearned happy endings, right? I said in my last video on 2BHeroX that I would be kinda pissed if Lin Ling ended up with Moon because I thought it would be like unrealistic wish fulfillment type bullshit. And yeah, even when I was watching the episode, I was kinda rolling my eyes a little bit because I was like, wow, they really gave my boy a whole glow up, a whole new design, a whole new status, you know, more wealth. They gave him everything he needed just so that he could come save Moon on this fucking deserted island as a damsel in distress. Oh yeah, Moon actually wasn't being threatened by enlighter, by the way. I just found that funny, you know, the fact that Nice's fans' little cope theory about the moon that enlighter had not being the real moon was actually the truth. That was kind of funny. But yeah, when he came to save her ass from the deserted island, I was low-key rolling my eyes, but you know, I wasn't mad at it. You know, it was still a satisfying ending, them getting together, if not a little corny. And then the thing happened. I have more questions from like the last 10 seconds of this episode than I probably had from the whole rest of the arc combined. Like I said earlier, they got my ass. I wasn't even thinking about the episode 1 cliffhanger when fucking Go-Go Power Rangers over here decided to blow Moon's brain meat out of her dome. So there's that. But then there's that whole thing about the hero tournament. What the fuck is the hero tournament, bruh? And what does that have to do with my boy Lin Ling?